Hi, I'm Nancy Flinchbaugh, and today I'm going to be reading from my book, Awakening, a Contemplative Primer on Learning to Sit. This book is about a lot of contemplative practices. And first, I'd like to read you the poem that started this book and my journey. It's called Learning to Sit. I am learning to sit. Some days it's hard. Some days it's easy. I am learning to listen for God. Some days I hear nothing. Some days the love washes over me into joy. I am learning that we are all connected. Some days I still feel solitary. Some days I realize that 10,000 others join me every moment. I am opening to awareness deep within me. Some days I feel empty. Some days I feel that pulsating reality bringing life. I keep thinking about the courage of the Hubble scientists, some days posed on emptiness in the sky. Some days to realize the darkness contained infinite galaxies. I keep thinking if I have the courage to sit in silence, some days I will focus on that emptiness too, and some days I will realize the web of stars and relationships hold us all. So in my book, I talk about each of the practices. I receive a letter from the earth about each of the practice. I talk about my experiences, and then I give suggestions for you, both as an individual and in a group. So I just want to read a little bit here on Nancy's thoughts on learning to sit. Meditation. What a gift. What a learning process. What a struggle. What a blessing. When I wrote the poem Learning to Sit, I was just beginning my practice 8 years ago now. And today I would say I'm still just beginning. Some people say we are all beginners when it comes to learning to sit. If you're like me, you may resist the idea of sitting in meditation. I remember visiting a spiritual director as a young mother in my 30s. The director had Buddhist tendencies, even though she met me at a Catholic retreat center. She recommended that I incorporate silence into my spiritual practice. I remember laughing at the idea. Certainly silence is something difficult to attain as a mother of young children. But more than that, I just didn't see the value. I like to talk. I like to be busy. The practice of simply being did not appeal to me. Now I look back and wish I had taken her advice. Some say that as we age, the appeal of being versus doing grows. Certainly as our bodies slow down, it's easier to sit and do nothing. Perhaps that is why I didn't begin my practice until I entered my 50s. But even then, it happened somewhat accidentally, a divine accident, I think, looking back. I've always enjoyed spiritual learning. Throughout my life, I've enjoyed small groups and retreats, both as a participant and as a leader. One day, I discovered a learning opportunity online with the Shalem Institute for Spiritual Formation in Washington, D.C., to take a class in leading contemplative small groups and retreats. Yes, ever since I read Henry Nouwen in my 20s, I've loved the contemplative side of Christianity. So I applied to take their 18-month course, not knowing that a requirement of the class would be to sit in silence every day for 20 minutes. After all those years, I began to meditate. Yes, it took me a while to come to this practice. Like most people who meditate, I found it difficult. At first, I expected instant enlightenment, sterling new insight, and deep inner peace. Actually, as I began, I learned that I shouldn't look for great insight, just letting go. And in reading Interior Castles by St. Teresa of Avila, I learned that in order to get the deep inner peace, you must first cross the moat. In her book, she uses the motif of the castle to describe the life of prayer. When she talks about the moat, she explains something that most meditators have discovered, that your stuff tends to surface when you work to become silent. The demons and dragons of your life return to disturb the waters of your practice. What also is true, though, is that as you let go of these demons and dragons, the pains of your life, you will find stiller waters, not only in your meditation time, but also in your daily life.